Do you ever wish your day wasn't dictated by your health? Are you tired of being tired all the time, or is pain holding you back from enjoying your time with your family? Would you like to manage your symptoms holistically, but you just don't know where to begin? I am so excited you're here. This podcast will help you understand how natural remedies work so you can relieve your symptoms and live a fuller life. My name is Penny. I'm an occupational therapist, past pharmaceutical rep, mom, and wife with a strong faith. And for 25 years, I battled through debilitating Crohn's disease. I took all the medicine and did all the surgeries that stole so much of my time with my family, but never truly healed me. I finally realized if I was going to survive this disease, I needed to open my stubborn eyes to alternative solutions. I researched how perfectly our bodies work with plants and a lifestyle that made my health less of a burden to my family and aligned so beautifully with my faith and my medical training. If you're ready to reclaim your life with holistic options that are easy to implement as a busy mom and provide relief that lasts, this is the podcast for you. Hey, it's me. Here I am, as promised, making up for lost time. I'm going to put out another episode this weekend that I'm very excited about. It is episode 15, Discover the Fascinating Hidden Key to Adequate Hydration with Trace Minerals. Hold on to your seats. I know this sounds so exciting to y'all, but I really didn't know what trace minerals were until 3 or 4 years ago. So this is going to be really exciting, and I think it's going to be something you can learn from. Welcome to another episode of Becoming Natural, the go-to podcast to help clean up your lifestyle and get control of your health with easy alternative solutions. I am your host, Penny Sampler, and today we're diving into that fascinating and often overlooked aspect of hydration, trace minerals. Like I said, I thought hydration to be fitting this dry winter. Actually, we are in the middle of the polar vortex with a foot of snow on the ground, but it's still dry by my family's definition. We moved here from Houston several years ago, and we are still adjusting from the humidity to the dry weather years later. Our family feels our dry skin and dehydration all the time without that good old Houston humidity. I was introduced to the concept of trace minerals for hydration a few years ago, and it was a mind-blowing experience when I went to the altitudes to ski, which is notably dehydrating, where trace minerals proved themselves amazing. I had no idea how amazing. All along, I thought it was simply oxygen-related to have altitude sickness, but after taking trace minerals, somewhat accidentally, my usual headaches and muscle fatigue were non-existent after 2 days of hard skiing and hiking up the backside of mountains, trying in my once fear-free body, meaning I was completely fearful, to keep up with my snowboarding son who clocked speeds that I measured, it pinged on my Life 360 how fast he was going. I was just praying I didn't tear an ACL and trying to keep up with him. I usually, when I go skiing, pound water for 2 weeks prior to my trip. I eliminate all my caffeine, and I used to take a pill from a doctor that's made to help increase the oxygen in your blood and pray for a miracle. But when I took this, I guess it was 2 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago when we went skiing, it's I'm not going to take a pill. I don't need a pill to put oxygen in my blood. I'm going to do this naturally. So in comes trace minerals. I didn't used to have to think at all about going to the higher altitudes when I was young. I was shocked at the fact that after 2 days of skiing hard, I had no pain, but I actually felt beyond no pain. I felt great. And really funny, my son couldn't get off the couch like the way we typically feel. We came home for lunch and I was ready to go. And he was like, oh no, I can't do it. I'm like, what's the difference? What did I do? And I put it together that it was my trace minerals keeping me hydrated, which was keeping me from having those sore muscles and giving me that energy that I needed because, of course, he did not do what I told him to do, and he was not taking the trace minerals. Most of us think of hydration as simply drinking water, but the truth is proper hydration is more about that. It's more than just H2O. It's about the careful balance of electrolytes and minerals that work together to keep your body functioning at its best. I'm going to do my best to make this really exciting because it is a really exciting thing to understand and to understand about our water and our water sources. So get excited and we'll make this as fun as possible because I've touched on trace minerals previously. And so I thought it was a great topic to dive into with more detail today. I don't think trace minerals are fully praised and appreciated for the power that they punch. I don't even think most people are aware of the benefits of trace minerals, let alone have they heard of trace minerals. In today's episode, I, of course, have to touch a little bit on the science behind them and their role in hydration with a little bit of education, but I promise to keep the technical parts digestible without sacrificing the depth that I so love. So we'll break down what trace minerals are, how they compare to macrominerals and electrolytes, why they're crucial for hydration, and how they keep you energized, healthy, and feeling your best. So, are you ready? Let's get started. What is hydration and why is it important? Have you ever looked up the definition of hydration? Well, I did. So, proper hydration is critical because water, one, maintains our cellular function. It helps support our cellular shape, our structure, and chemical reactions within the cells. It regulates our body temperature, which we all know that, through sweating, and it maintains that thermal balance. It facilitates digestion and absorption, which means it aids in breaking down our food and transporting nutrients throughout our body. It removes waste from our body. It assists in flushing out toxins and waste products via urine and sweat. It lubricates our joints and tissues, keeping our joints, our eyes, and all our mucous membranes in our body moist and functioning smoothly. And it supports blood circulation. It maintains blood volume and proper oxygen delivery to the tissues. Water is still absolutely essential for hydration. But the way we approach hydration today is more nuanced than just drinking plain water. So let's break it down a little bit. At its core, water is crucial because it makes up about 60% of the human body, and it's involved in virtually every single biological process that we have, from, as we said, nutrient transport to temperature regulation and waste elimination. So yes, in that sense, water is definitely hydrating us. When we drink water, it helps maintain that fluid balance, which is vital for keeping the body functioning properly. It is still the foundation of hydration. However, in today's world, hydration isn't as simple as just drinking a glass of water anymore, which is quite sad because that's our go-to. But several factors complicate the process. Number one, many of the foods that we eat today, especially processed foods, are high in salt, sugar, and preservatives. Those they actually draw water out of our cells and make us feel thirsty or dehydrated. So our modern diet doesn't contain enough whole water-rich foods like fruits and vegetables that naturally help hydrate us. Our fast-paced lives, more screen time and stress can lead to increased water loss through sweat and urination. People who are physically active or they live in a hot climate or are stressed all the time are especially vulnerable to dehydration, and water alone sometimes isn't enough to replenish those lost fluids and electrolytes. And finally, some of the water we drink today, especially bottled water or mini tap water resources, they may not be as rich in trace minerals as they once were. In certain regions, water may have low levels of minerals like magnesium, calcium, potassium, which are important for hydration and bodily functions. Water without those minerals may be less effective at staying in your cells and maintaining a fluid balance. That's why today hydration isn't just about drinking water. It's about drinking smart. Unfortunately, we have to think about everything we put into our body these days. But plain water is great. It just doesn't often contain the electrolytes and the minerals that our bodies need to fully absorb and maintain our fluids. This is where trace minerals and electrolytes come in. It's important to understand that we do not produce minerals. Minerals are from the ground and from the ocean. They're from all around us. They're from everything that basically God made. We have to come by our minerals from our diets, what we put into our body and into our mouth. We need to first know the difference between electrolytes, macrominerals, and trace minerals. Those are our three biggies that we're talking about today. They are all important substances that play key roles in the body's physiology, but they differ in their functions. So we're going to kind of go through the Cliff's Notes version of electrolytes and macrominerals, but electrolytes dissolve in water to produce charged particles called ions, and they help conduct electrical signals in the body. They regulate nerve and muscle function. They maintain fluid balance. They control blood pressure, and they play a role in our acid-base balance, like when people talk about their bodies being acidic or not. Natural electrolytes that you and I know about, sodium, potassium, chloride, calcium, those are examples. Macrominerals are minerals that the body requires in relatively large amounts for several structural and physiological roles. They contribute to bone health, support enzyme function, help maintain structural integrity of proteins and tissues. They participate in energy production and metabolism in our body. Examples of macrominerals: calcium, magnesium, phosphorus, sodium, potassium. And I'm sure you noticed that there are several that overlap there. We're not going to dive into that today, but there are certain macrominerals and electrolytes that can play the role of both, which is kind of interesting, but that's for another day. And finally, trace minerals. Trace minerals are required in much smaller amounts, usually less than 100 milligrams per day compared to the macrominerals, but they are absolutely essential for specific roles. Despite their tiny presence, they play huge roles in maintaining our health. So examples of what they do for us is they act as helpers for enzymes, they support hormonal functions, they play a role in antioxidant defense. Listen to how these minuscule amounts of minerals keep us going. It's actually quite amazing. Examples would be, let's start with, how about iron is vital for oxygen transport in the blood, energy production, and immune function. Zinc supports the immune system, wound healing, and DNA synthesis. Copper is essential for red blood cell production, connective tissue formation, and iron metabolism. Selenium acts as an antioxidant, protecting cells from damage and supporting thyroid health. Ding, ding, ding. There's another clue in my natural thyroid quest. Iodine, necessary for thyroid hormone production, which regulates metabolism and growth. Manganese, involved in bone formation, blood clotting, and the metabolism of carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. Fluoride, need to listen to my episode on fluoride and on iodine, actually. But fluoride strengthens teeth and bones and helps prevent dental cavities. Chromium helps regulate blood sugar levels and supports insulin function. So those are some of the major players, and even though we only need them in teeny, tiny, small quantities, trace minerals are absolutely essential. They are distinct from electrolytes and macrominerals simply due to their lower required quantities. That's it. So sodium, potassium, magnesium, calcium, that's what we think of when we think of electrolytes. They help regulate the fluid balance in and out of our cells. Water alone cannot do this job. It does not move itself in and out of the cells. We need those electrolytes to do that job for us. So if you're drinking water but not replenishing those essential electrolytes, for example, after you exercise or in hot weather, you might still end up feeling sluggish or dehydrated. We often lean toward electrolyte drinks, but I'm here to tell you that those regular go-to drinks that we all and our kids love that are loaded with sugar, but they're marketed as electrolyte-rich drinks, they discount themselves entirely by also including other very poor ingredients. Several have ethylene glycol in them, which, if you know what ethylene glycol is, it's basically the ingredient of antifreeze because it's sweet. So they use antifreeze in this product to sweeten the flavor. It's pretty seductive marketing, I think. Trace minerals like zinc, copper, and selenium play a role in maintaining fluid balance as well. When we're deficient in any of those, our hydration can suffer, even if we're drinking a lot of water. Many of our modern-day water sources don't provide these minerals, which this is probably a good spot to insert and remind you of ewg.org. If you go to ewg.org and at the top of the page, you click on Tap Water Database, it'll ask you what your zip code is, and you can enter your zip code and go down a major rabbit hole about your water and what is in your water. It's probably not going to be very fun because there are definitely a lot of problems with the water that we have, but it's an interesting place to check out, the health of the water in your specific water area. So, is water hydrating us? Yes, absolutely. But it's even more effective when we think of hydration as a holistic process involving water, minerals, and a balanced diet. I know I find myself still completely parched after chugging water all day long, which means I don't believe I'm getting all the minerals that I need when I have been convinced that all I need is just more water, which is why I take the trace minerals. So, when it comes to hydration, trace minerals are key. They work alongside water and other electrolytes in our body to regulate that fluid balance, help muscles contract, support nerve function, maintain blood pressure. So the next time you think about staying hydrated, remember that it is not just about gulping down water. It's about making sure that those trace minerals are in the mix. In fact, I have noticed lately that I can drink loads of water and still feel parched. So why are these trace minerals so important when it comes to hydration? Hydration is more than just that absorption of water. For water to properly hydrate your body, just like I said above with the electrolytes, it needs to move into and out of your cells, out of your tissues, and in and out of your organs. And this process relies on a fine-tuned system of electrolytes, minerals like sodium, potassium, and magnesium and calcium, which help regulate that flow of fluids and maintain balance between cells. The more you study, the more you realize how intricately our bodies are created and how easy it is for things to go awry if anything gets out of balance with any deficiency that we have. The human body is truly an incredible miracle. So while sodium and potassium are often the go-to electrolytes that people think of for hydration, trace minerals like magnesium, zinc, and selenium also play an important supporting role. Magnesium, for instance, is involved in over 300 biochemical reactions in the body. It helps maintain the electrolyte balance in your cells and can prevent muscle cramps that often occur with dehydration. That is a whole lot of chemical reactions for a tiny little bit of mineral in your daily diet. Zinc is a powerhouse for immune function, wound healing, and DNA synthesis. It helps regulate the body's fluid balance. A deficiency in zinc can lead to increased dehydration and even affect how well your body absorbs water. Selenium is another trace mineral that works behind the scenes to help maintain the integrity of your cells and tissues, supporting overall hydration by improving how your body processes and maintains fluids. Selenium acts as an antioxidant, protecting our cells from damage and supporting, ding, 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 thyroid health, duly noted in my quest for natural thyroid health. These trace minerals are essential for keeping your body's fluid systems in check. Without them, even if you're drinking enough water, your body may struggle to maintain its hydration levels, leading to symptoms like fatigue, dizziness, or muscle cramps. That's a big one. My trace mineral discovery and the supplement that I take is up there with life-giving experiences. It literally really stopped me in my tracks, while not only knocking my socks off with my ability to continue snow skiing with no need for muscle recovery, while my sweet son, who doesn't do anything I tell him to do, didn't take the trace minerals. I was ready to go skiing after lunch. I was ready to go. I had no muscle soreness, the way you have to get peeled up from the couch when it's time to go skiing again. He couldn't get off the couch. He wouldn't go, and I was ready to go. So I went by myself. All along, we thought that getting enough oxygen was the issue. I also had a notable difference when I was playing tennis in the heat of the summer. I simply added those trace minerals to my water bottle between sets, and the typical response of going home, heat exhausted, dehydrated, and sore, my muscles weren't even sore. I could function at 100% after an intense match in the heat of the day in the middle of the summer. I was definitely a believer. They worked for me not only in 100-degree weather, but they worked for me in the altitudes and the snow. I love trace minerals. So we know that trace minerals are important for hydration, but where do we get them? Let's start with some of the best sources for key trace minerals. Magnesium. Magnesium is found in foods like leafy greens, nuts, seeds, whole grains, and legumes. Dark chocolate is also a great source if you like dark chocolate. Zinc is found in foods like meat, shellfish, legumes, seeds, and nuts. Oysters are especially high in zinc. Selenium. Brazil nuts are packed with selenium. Really good to eat Brazil nuts. But you can also find it in fish, eggs, and whole grains. Copper. Good sources include shellfish, seeds, nuts, and organ meats like liver, if liver's your thing. So those are some great sources for some good trace minerals. But an important note is it's not just about getting enough minerals, but it's also about getting the right balance. Too much of one mineral, like let's say sodium, can throw off your hydration, while deficiencies in others, like magnesium or zinc, can leave you feeling sluggish or dehydrated. This is a great place to insert that a lot of people use a very popular hydration drink, and its mechanism of action is actually high doses of sodium, which is salt, because we know that salt retains water, right? So they use so much sodium in that product that could knock you out of balance. And it's ultimately causes an imbalance because you take on so much salt. And it's especially not good if you have any heart issues to increase the sodium in your body that rapidly. Just not a good idea. It's much better to take trace minerals. It can be hard to meet your trace mineral needs through food alone, especially if you have a special, dietary restriction or if you're on a limited diet. In those cases, supplements or mineral-rich hydration drinks can be helpful. Just be sure that you choose a high-quality option that includes a balanced mix of minerals. Always, always, always read the ingredients. There are so many out there that will promote that they're healthy, or if you think they're at a supplement store that they're healthy, you have to read the ingredients because no, they're not. I'll link mine up in the show notes for you. I'll add a few other options because when mine was out of stock for so long, I did find some other options, but ultimately I did come back to my original because it just tastes better and I think it works better. But just make sure that you always look at the ingredients, look where it's made, look for full transparency. They sure don't make it easy for us. And for that, it's really hard. So how can you tell if you're not getting enough trace minerals? Well, the symptoms can be tricky because they're often tied to general feelings of fatigue or dehydration, and we can blame that on a million things, right? But some signs to watch out for are muscle cramps or spasms, brain fog or difficulty concentrating, weak immunity. So if you catch colds or get sick often, dry skin, brittle hair, this is actually a sign of zinc or copper deficiency. That was news to me. Fatigue or feeling drained, despite drinking water and you still feel that fatigue. I will say that once I felt so good taking trace minerals in the mountains, I now take them daily and I just feel overall better. In fact, my go-to supplement was out of stock, like I said, for a long time, and I noticed. So I finally found other options, but ultimately, when mine came back in stock, it remains the best for me. I know I don't drink enough water in a day, and I certainly don't eat enough to get all the minerals I need. So taking that daily trace mineral supplement just makes me feel good. There's several ways that you can take trace minerals. I happen to take a powder because when I add flavor to my water, it makes me drink more water. But you can take them as pills, you can take them as drops, you can take them as powders. There are a lot of varieties. I'll link up several options. As we wrap up, clearly hydration is a lot more than just drinking water. Yes, water is totally essential, but it's the balance of trace minerals and electrolytes that truly enable your body to function properly and stay hydrated. By making sure you're getting enough trace minerals, you'll be helping your body unlock the full potential of hydration. I think that you will be shocked, absolutely shocked, most of us, at how much better that we feel when we take trace minerals. Just try them. Just give them a shot for a month. And remember, it's not about a perfect formula, but about maintaining balance over time with a healthy diet, adequate water intake, and proper self-care. More and more, I'm discovering that when I just don't feel right or I feel sluggish, it's not necessarily a doctor's visit that I need, but an assessment of what I'm eating or what I'm not eating. So that is it for trace minerals. I hope I made that as fun as possible for you and that you learned something new today. I hope you enjoyed today's shows and learned something about trace minerals if you hadn't already. So don't forget to subscribe, share Becoming Natural Podcast with a friend, and if so led, please leave a review. Until next time, stay hydrated, stay healthy, and keep nourishing your body in every way it deserves. One of the most significant additions to my daily routine was a clean, safe, USDA organic, high-quality CBD oil. Please know, not all CBD is the same.
This family-owned company in North Carolina changed my life, allowing me to get off opiates and live life without pain from surgeries, creaky joints after workouts, or gardening. It's a mind-blowing natural step to decrease discomfort, improve mood, help with sleep, prevent or slow future age-related annoyances, and many other benefits. You can check out my website at pennysampler.com, which includes $10 off your first order. To be clear, having Crohn's, I've never smoked, I don't drink alcohol, or ever been high. This is a reputable option that I'm incredibly passionate about sharing. If you would like personal assistance with selecting the products, please fill out the simple health assessment quiz in the show notes, and I will be in touch with you as soon as possible. If you enjoyed today's episode, would you take 30 seconds to leave a review and share it with a friend? It helps me help someone else, and reviews are the best way to do that. Thank you so much for your support, and I'll meet you back here for another episode next week.